Good day, everyone. I'm Arvin Enriquez, your subject teacher in General Mathematics. For this video lesson, we're going to discuss the topic Fair Market Value of a Cash Flow under your General Mathematics from Quarter 2, Module 6. Our lesson objectives. At the end of this video lesson, you are expected to calculate the per market value of a cash flow stream that includes an annuity. Compare the fair market value of a cash flow and make a decision based on the market value of cash flow. So let's talk about the fair market value of a cash flow. So by simply defining your fair market value is the price an asset would sell for on the open market when certain conditions are met. In its simplest sense, your fair market value is the price that an asset would sell for on the open market. Or we can say that your fair market value has come to represent the price of an asset under the following conditions. No? If we met these conditions, then we can go on with the process of your fair market value. The conditions are as follows. The parties involved are aware of all the facts, are acting in their own interests, are free of any pressure to buy or sell, and to have ample time to make decisions. In your fair market value, we should uh, met the following conditions. First thing to do is to consider these conditions. The prospective buyers or the prospective, of buyers and sellers are reasonably knowledgeable about the asset. So both buyers and sellers should be knowledgeable about the asset, behaving in their own best interest. So their interest should be considered also. Behaving, or should I say, free of undue pressure to trade. So they are free of any pressure to buy, at the same time to sell, and given a reasonable time period for completing the transaction. So those are conditions that we need to meet for this fair market value. So given these conditions, an asset's fair market value should represent an accurate valuation or assessment. There should be an accurate evaluation or assessment of its worth. So we need to assess and to evaluate the worth or the price of these assets. So the term is commonly used in tax laws and the real estate market. So you need to take note of this, that this fair market value is commonly used in tax law and real estate market. So those are the things that we can apply, or those are the scenario wherein this fair market value can be applicable. So with this module, In this module, it focuses on calculating the fair market value of a cash flow extreme on an annuity. So we're going to recall especially your general annuity, and we're going to relate this general annuity to your fair market value. So let's start. So let's start with this activity. So it represents what's new. So it's about concept mapping. So you're asked to make a concept map from the given words below by arranging the word into an idea and connect by either a word or a phrase. So we're going to use these words and formulas as you can see in these slides, and we're going to connect this either by word or by phrase. Again, when we say concept map or conceptual diagram, as you can see in this slide, so this diagram that depicts suggested relationship between concept, or we can say that concept maps may be used by instructional designers, engineers, technical writers, and other to organize and structure knowledge. So that will be our first activity. We're going to arrange the word, no? As you can see in this slide, those words and formulas being presented to us, and we're going to connect these uh, words and formulas, by simply using your word, other word, or phrase, so we can connect this or we can create a new idea based on this concept mapping. So for the rubric for the activity, for the guide, for your guide, in making your concept mapping, or in dealing with your concept mapping, so your output will be graded using this rubric. So first, your organization, the content and concept. The third one is the knowledge of relationship among concept. So it could be excellent, good, fair, poor. So here, as you can see, in every description, there is an equivalent points that we can add after, once we get the total point, then we can make an idea what will be your grade, in dealing with this activity that represent a concept mapping about your fair market value. So let's deal now with what is it. So your concept maps here are visual representations of informations. They can take form of charts, graphic organizers, tables, flowcharts, Venn diagrams, timelines, or T-charts. Concept maps are especially useful for students who learn better visually. So these concept maps are useful now for visual learners, although they can benefit any type of learners. So in the previous activity, you need to arrange the given words logically in the form of either chart, organizers, flowcharts, etc., and connect the words by either word or phrase to convey a meaningful idea. So here, we're just simply formulating an idea related to your fair market value. The concept you have formed will be essential in the discussion of this topic. So after you finish the activity, try to answer the following. So these are the guided questions, wherein we can see if we satisfy or we can satisfy, the given activity being presented to us. First question, have you organized the words logically? Second, what idea or concept have you learned from the activity? And third, how can you define domain and range? So if you find difficulty in doing the activity, that is okay. Because after you read more about this module on how to determine the fair market value of a cash flow stream, you are free to go back to our activity and try to rearrange the words in a logical way. So we're going now to go deeper now with the concept of your fair market value. So let's talk about the fair market value of a cash flow. So let's define first what is a cash flow. So a cash flow is a term that refers to payments received. So it is a cash inflows or payments or deposits made. So that will be a cash outflows. Your cash inflows can be represented by positive numbers, and cash outflows can be represented by negative numbers. It is also the amount of cash and cash equivalents being transferred into and out of the business. So, your cash flows are narrowly interconnected with the concepts of value, interest rate, and liquidity. So it's about value, interest rate, and liquidity. So a cash flow that shall happen on the future can be transformed into a cash flow of the same value. So that's how cash flow uh, determined, no, or defined, no, by simply using the concept of this one, no, we can easily visualize what a cash flow is, no. So especially from, for example, it can be a narrow sense as a payment, no, in a currency, for example, especially from one, for example, one central bank account to another. The term cash flow is mostly used to first describe payments that are expected to happen in the future, are thus uncertain and therefore need to be forecast with cash flows. So that's how we see or the concept of cash flow in the business industry, or even in the concept of banking. So that will be the concept of your cash flow. While the per market value or economic value of cash flow payment extreme on a particular date refers to a single amount that is equivalent to the value of the payments extreme the at that date. So this particular date is called the focal date. So you need to take note of this, that this particular date is called the focal date. In its simplest sense, fair market value or FMV is the price that an asset would sell for on the open market. So plus the thing that we need to consider the conditions that we need to meet, no, in this fair market value. First, the parties involved are aware of all the facts, are acting in their own interests, are free of any pressure to buy or sell, and have ample time to have the decision. There should be an ample time for the buyer and seller for them to decide without any pressure, and they are free from any pressure. and they will decide based on their interest. So this fair market value is different than market value and appraised value. So you need to take note of that this fair market value is different from the market value and the appraised value. And this market fair market value is the wherein we can relate this to tax settings, no? In tax settings, for example, and the real estate market, these are two areas that this market value is used. So that's how we see, the concept of your fair market value in your tax settings and the real estate market. So most of the insurance companies, use fair market value in determining certain claim payouts. So those are real life applications of this fair market value. Even in your insurance company, or this fair market value is very useful, in determining certain claims payout, especially in your insurance companies. That's why this fair market value, considering the cash flow of this, or the fair market value of a cash flow, is very useful, especially in the banking process, in most of the banking agreements or transactions, or even in business industry. So we can actually use this fair market value of a cash flow. So for example, number one, Mr. Ribaya received two offers on a lot that he wants to sell. Mr. Ocampo has offered 50,000 and a 1 million lump sum payment 5 years from now. Mr. Cruz has offered 50,000 plus 40,000 pesos every quarter for 5 years. So compare the fair market values of the two offers if money can earn 5% compounded annually. So when we say compounded annually, the interest will be applied, per annum or per year. Which offer has a higher market value? So for us to visualize more the given values, we use this table to represent those values by simply putting all the values related to Mr. Ocampo's offer, in the first column, and in the second column, it's all about Mr. Cruz offer. In Mr. Ocampo's offer, here there is a 50,000 pesos down payment and 1 million pesos after 5 years. In Mr. Cruz's offer, there is a 50,000 down payment and 40,000 every quarter for 5 years. And we're asked now to compare the per market value of the two offers, wherein this money can earn 5% compounded annually. So which offer has a higher market value? So that will be our problem for this example number one. So we're asked to find the fair market value of each offer. So for the solution, let us illustrate the cash flows of the two offers using time diagrams. So here, for Mr. Ocampo's offer, here from 0, 1, 2, 5, 4, and 5, from 0, there is a 50,000 because at the beginning, he will give uh, 50,000 pesos. And at the end of these 5 years, then there is a 1 million pesos. Now, for Mr. Cruz offers, at the beginning there is a 50,000 pesos, and every quarter there is a 40,000 pesos. Why is that it is 20? So as you can see here, they are both offering an amount for 5 years. But again, Mr. Cruz offers a payment, every quarter. As you can see, it starts from 0 up to 20. Why is that it happened? Because there are 4 quarters in a year. If we multiply 4 by 5, so it's 20. So the resulting value for that is 20. That's why it is from 0 to 20. Because there are 20 quarters in 5 years. So in each of the quarter, he will offer you a 40,000 pesos up to the last quarter. So here, choose a focal date and determine the values of the two offers at that focal date. So for example, the focal date can be the date at the start of the term. So since the focal date is at t is equal to 0, for example, if we set that the focal date can be at the date at the start of the term, your t must be equal to 0. So compute for the present value of each other. Let us now compute for the fair market value of Mr. Ocampo's offer. So since here 50,000 pesos is offered today, then its present value is still 50,000 pesos. It will not earn an interest as of today because if we offered a 50,000 today, there is no interest being applied on it. So the present value is still 50,000 pesos. The present value of 1 million pesos offered 5 years from now is, so we're going to compute for the present value of these 1,000 pesos offered 5 years. So the present value of this one, no, if we substitute this 1 million pesos to your future value here as your F, because it this 1 million pesos offered for 5 years, no, from now. So this 1 million pesos is a future value. It will be multiplied by 1 plus I. Your I is 5% since it is compounded annually, no? So your J now is 0.05. You don't need to divide this by 12 because it is compounded annually. So here your N is pi because it is 5 years. So as you can see, the resulting value upon substituting all the given values here, so our present value for this one is 783,526.20 pesos. So that will be the present value of this 1 million pesos offered for 5 years from now. Now, for the fair market value, we're going to add your present value to the down payment. If the down payment is 50,000, so we're going to add this present value for us to get the fair market value or FMB. So your down payment is 50,000, your present value 783,526.20 pesos, and your fair market value now is equal to 833,526.20 pesos. Now, that Mr. Cruz offer, we first compute for the present value of a general annuity with quarterly payment, but with annual compounding at 5%. But here, as you can see, the fair market value of this of Mr. Campos offer, you need to take note of this because we're going to compare this fair market value to the fair market value of what Mr. Uh, Cruz offer. Let's solve for the equivalent rate, compounded quarterly, and a 5% compounded annually. So as you can see here, we're asked to solve for the equivalent rate uh, concerning with this compounded quarterly and your compounded annually using the concept of or applying, the 5% interest rate. Your F1 here will represent your compounded quarterly while your F2 will represent your compounded annually. So based on the given formula, once we apply your formula in your future value wherein your P is your present value, as you can see here. Your P now will be multiplied by 1 plus I raised to 4 over 4. Why is that? It is 4 because it represents your compounded quarterly, and it is your 4 to be multiplied by 5 because it represents the number of conversion periods. So whatever the product between your 4 and 5 is, that is the total number of quarters within that 5 years. Now, at the right side of your equation, it represents the compounded annually. Here, we multiply P, multiply by 1, plus I raised to 1. Why is that? It is 1 because it is compounded annually, or it's per year, or per annum. That's why it's 1. So there is only 1 a year in a 1 year. In a year, I mean. That's why we multiply the conversion period is 1 multiplied by 5 because it is already compounded annually. That is 1 multiplied by 5. So as we simplify, we can cancel your P for both sides. If we divide both sides by P, so we can cancel out your P both from your left side and right side of your equation. So the resulting value, the simplified form is 1 plus I raised to 4 over 4 raised to 20 is now equal to 1 plus 0.05 over 1 raised to 5. So in this case, upon simplifying, your given values, we can simplify here. We can apply the law of exponent. As you can see that between your 20 and 5, so 20 is the exponent at the left side of your equation. 5 is 1/4 of 20. If we divide 20 by 5, that is 4, meaning to say that 5 is 1/4 as a total part, as a part of 20. That's why we can rewrite this one as 1 plus I raised to 4 over 4. If we simplify this one, that will be equal to 1.05. Why is that? It is raised to 1/4 because 5, if we get the ratio, if we're asked to get the ratio between 5 and 20, 5 is only 1/4 of 20. That's why it is 1/4 here. Now, if we apply again, if we're asked to get the value of I raised to 4, we just simply transpose this positive 1 to another side of your equation. That's why it became negative 1 here. So if we simplify, your I raised to 4 over 4 is now equal to 0.012272. So that's the reason why we come up with this 0.012274. No? We just simply apply your law of exponent. Then we apply the basic concept in mathematics, which is your m dash, no? So it's a combination of your m dash and the law of exponent, and how we arrive on this I raised to 4 over 4, which is now equal to 0.012272. So for the present value of an annuity is given by, so we just simply use this formula in computing the present value of an annuity. So your fee now is equal to R multiplied by 1 minus 1 plus J raised to N all over your J. Here, there's a given value for this one that will be 40,000. So we apply here the concept of the 40,000 of Mr. Cruz, no? It is from Mr. Cruz offers. So your 40,000 is from Mr. Cruz offers. We just simply substitute the given values to the design formula for this present value. Then we come up with this one. So we apply your J here. As you can see, we compute this one 0.011272. As you can see here, then this is negative 20. Why is that? This is the number of conversion period because he offers, no? Mr. Cruz offers represent the compounded quarterly. That's why it's negative 20 because 4 multiplied by 5, or every year there are 4 quarters in a year. That's why it is 20. Now, upon simplifying, as you can see here, no, please double check this one. If there's a typographical error here, so you just simply take the values from I raised to 4 over 4, then we substitute for j. So your P now here is equal to 572.70 pesos. So that will be your present value for Mr. Cruz offer. So the fair market values, it's the same on how we compute the fair market value for Mr. Ocampo's offer. So it's still the same. It's down payment plus the present value. As you can see, the down payment is still 50,000 and the present value for Mr. Cruz offers is 705,572.70 pesos. So if we get the sum of these two, of this down payment and present value, then we can come up with 755,572.70 pesos. So that will be the fair market value that we can map on Mr. Cruz offers. So here we can see, no, that Mr. Ocampo's offer has a higher market value. Yes, it is, no, if we try to compare, because it is for Mr. Ocampo and this will be for your Mr. Cruz. So if there is a difference of 77,953.50 pesos from, no, there's a difference between your Mr. Ocampo offers and Mr. Cruz offers, and the difference is 77,953.50 pesos. So the difference between the market values of the two offers at the start of the term is now, as you can see on how we compute the difference, no, we just simply subtract, no, whatever the fair market value that we can get for Mr. Cruz offers to the fair market value from the Mr. Ocampo's offer. So for the alternate solution, so your focal date at the end of the term, so Mr. Ocampo's offer, so the future value is of 1 million pesos at the end of the term at 5% compounded annually is given by. So we're looking for the future value of this one. So we just simply substitute the principal. What will be your principal? Your principal is 50,000 because that will be your down payment. We multiply it by 1 plus 0.05 as we apply your 5% interest compounded annually. If that is not compounded annually, we just simply divide it by 4 if that is compounded quarterly, divide it by 2 if that is compounded semi-annually. So it depends on the keywords that we can see on the given, no? But in this case, that is compounded annually, so we just simply substitute the given interest rate to the formula. So we just simply directly, no, we directly substitute the given values for the interest of rate to the given formula for your future value. And now, upon simplifying, your future value now is equal to 63,814.08 pesos. So the fair market value of this offer at the end of the term is 63,814.08 pesos plus 1 million pesos amounting to 1,063,814.08 pesos. So that will be the fair market value of this offer at the end, no, of the term. And this is for Mr. Ocampo's offer. And for Mr. Cruz offers, the future value of this ordinary general annuity is given by. So we just simply use this design formula for this future value for ordinary general annuity. So we apply again the given values, 40,000. It's the same thing, no? It's the same thing for your R. So we apply your 1 plus 0.01272 as the resulting value that we compute a while ago for your I raised to 4 over 4, that is compounded quarterly, raised to 20. Why is that it is 20? Because we multiply the number of quarters per year by the total number of years. No, that is 4 multiplied by 5 minus 1 all over 0.012272. So upon calculating using your calculator, your F now or the future value for this one is 900,509.40 pesos. So that will be the future value. So the future value of 50,000 pesos here at the end of the term is 63,814.08, which was already determined earlier, no, from Mr. Ocampo's offer. So the fair market value FMB is that 900,000 I mean 509.40 plus 63,814.08. So that will be equal to 964,323.48 pesos. So as expected, is Mr. Campos' offer still has a higher market value. Even if the local date was chosen to be at the end of the term, the difference between the market values of the two offers at the end of the term is 99,490.60 pesos. So still there's a difference, no? Uh, Even if the local date was chosen to be at the end of the term, still there is a bigger difference between Mr. Ocampo's offer and Mr. Cruz's offer, and that is 99,490.60 pesos. So we can actually check the present value of the difference is the same as the difference when the focal date was at the start of the term. So this will be a continuation of your example number 1, and we're just simply checking if the present value of the difference is the same as the difference when the focal date was at the start of the term. So we just simply apply your P. Your P is equal to 99,490.60 pesos multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 raised to negative 5. So we just simply apply this one 0.05 as the interest rate. Since we're dealing with 5 years, that's why it's negative 5. So the resulting value here is equal to 77,953.49 pesos. So as you can see, the present value of the difference is the same as the difference when the focal date was start at of the term, no? At the start of the term, I mean. So that's how we check, no? If the difference are the same. Now, for example number 2, moving forward with example number 2, Company A offers 150,000 pesos at the end of 3 years plus 300,000 pesos at the end of 5 years. Company B offers 25,000 pesos at the end of each quarter for the next 5 years. Assume that money is worth 8% compounded semi-annually. So there's a typographical error here. So we need to put semi-annually here. Which offers has a better market value? So again, there's a typographical error here. So it is compounded semi-annually, meaning say that there are 2 sets of 6 months every year. So we just simply divide the interest rate by 2 and all the stop, no? Because if we're asked to find the conversion period, we just simply multiply the number of years by the number of set of 6 months in a year, so we can get the number of conversion period. Now, for us to visualize more the given values, we just simply use this table, no, for us to see more and to visualize more the values aligned to your company A and company B offer. So we use this first column of this table for the values aligned to your company A offer. That is 150,000 pesos at the end of 3 years and 300,000 pesos at the end of 5 years. And for company B, for the second column, there is a 25,000 pesos at the end of each quarter for the next 5 years. And we're asked to find the value of the fair market value of each offer. So what will be the fair market value of companies A offer and companies B offer? So that will be our task for this example number 2. So for the solution, so we're going to use time diagrams to illustrate the cash flows of the two offers. And now let's deal with this one. So we need to illustrate the cash flow of the two offers using your time diagrams. As you can see for company A offer here, so there's a time diagram here. Your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will represent the number of years as the company offer that there is a 150,000 at the end of 3 years. So we need to put 150,000 here. That will be mapped to your 3 years and a 300,000 at the end of 5 years. That's why there is a 300,000 pesos at the end of 5 years. Now for company B, so there's an offer here that the 25,000 at the end of each quarter for the next 5 years. Why is that there is a 20 as the last value for that will represent the term or the time. So since there are 4 quarters in a year, so we just simply multiply 5 years by 4. So the last number will be 20. So this 0, 1, 2, 3 up to the last number, which is 20, represents the number of quarters within 5 years. So in each quarter, Company B offers that at the end of each quarter, there is a 25,000 pesos. That's why we put 25,000 pesos in each quarter up to the last quarter. As you can see, up to the 20th quarter that we can meet on these 5 years, there is a 25,000 pesos. So that's how we illustrate your Company A and Company B offers. So suppose that selected focal date is the start of the term. So since the focal date is the start of the term, compute for the present value of each offer. So let's deal now with the present value for company A offer. So the present value of 150,000 pesos 3 years from now, because they offer that the borrower will receive 150,000 at the end of 3 years. Now, we apply this formula P is equal to F plus I multiplied by J raised to N, where your N is the conversion period. So as you can see here, your J here, which is 0.05, so we simply divide your 0.08 by 2 because we are looking for the value that will be aligned to semi-annually, because there are 2 sets of 6 months in a year. That's why it's 2 in your denominator here. So 0.08 divided by 2, so that will be equal to 0.04. Here there is a typographical error, so this is not negative 5, so that will be equal to negative 6. So this 6 is from the conversion period, wherein that is equal to negative. So we multiply your 3, since we are looking for the value of present value after 3 years, multiply by the number of set of 6 months in a year, that is 2. So therefore that will be negative 6. So the exponent here is negative 6, not negative 5. So it's a typographical error. So the resulting value, once we simplify using your calculators, your P1 is 118,547.18 pesos. So that will be the present value for these 150,000 pesos 3 years from now. Then the present value of 300,000 pesos 5 years from now is equal to, it's the same process on how we compute the present value using this formula. So we apply or we substitute 300,000 plus, I multiply by 1 plus 0.04. It's the same process on how we get the value of J for the present value of 150,000. So that will be 0.08 divided by 2. So it becomes 0.04. And here for the conversion period, so it is negative 5 because it is 5 years multiplied by 2, or the number of sets of 6 months in a year. That is 5 multiplied by 2, so it's negative 10. So the resulting value for this one is 202,669.25 pesos, and that will be the present value after 5 years. So for the fair market value of this company A offer, that will be equal to P1 and P2. So unlike for the sample number 1, so it's a down payment plus the present value, but in this case, there's no down payment at the start of the term. So may say we just simply add your P1 and P2, or the present value for 150,000 and 300,000, and that will be the fair market value that will be aligned to company A offer. That is 118,547.18 pesos plus 202,669.29 pesos. So whatever the resulting value here, so that will be your per market value for this company A offer. So for company B offer, so let us compute for the present value of a general annuity with quarterly payments but with semi-annual compounding at 8% as the rate of interest. Let us solve the equivalent rate. So compounded quarterly of 8% compounded semi-annually. So this F1 will represent your compounded quarterly. This F2 will represent your compounded semi-annually. So let's try to use the given or the design formula for these F1 and F2. For your F1, it represented by your P multiplied by 1 plus I raised to 4 over 4. Why is that? We need to divide it by 4 because it represents your compounded quarterly. So there are 4 quarters every year. So we multiply 5 by 4 because that will be your conversion period, no? Because that will be your conversion period or the total numbers of quarters within 5 years. So that is 4 multiplied by 5. So we multiply the number of quarters per year by the number of years. So that is 4 multiplied by 5. And for F2, that is P multiplied by 1 plus I raised to 2 over 2. Why we need to divide it by 2? Because there are 2 sets of 6 months every year. So this will be your 2 as your denominator here. No? Then for your exponent, that will be 2 multiplied by 5. So we multiply the 2 sets of 6 months every year by 5 years. And the number of conversion period, if we simplify this one, and that will be 10. No? There are 10 sets of 6 months within 5 years and 20 sets of 3 months in 5 years. So that will be the number of conversion period. So upon simplifying, we can divide both sides by P. These are the common variables, no, between your left side and right side of your equations. That's why we need to divide, no, both sides of your equation by P for us to cancel your P here. So upon checking and upon simplifying, so that will be equal to 1 plus I raised to 4 over 4 is now equal to 104 raised to 1 half. Why is that there is still an exponent of 1 up here? Because if we take the ratio between your 10 and 20, as you can see here, as your exponent here, an exponent in the left side of your equation, that will be 20. If you take the ratio between your 10 and 20. So that will be your simplified exponent at the right side of your equation for this one, for the company B offer. So if you're going to simplify, then you can use your calculators for us to simplify this 1.04 raised to 1 half, or simply square root of 1.04. So as part of continuation, so we just simply transpose this positive 1 to another side of your equation. That's why it becomes negative 1. Now if we simplify again using your calculator, if we input this one, that is square root of 1.04, because 1 half as your exponent will represent a square sign. So that's why 1.04 raised to 1 half is the same thing with the square root of 1.04 minus 1. So if we simplify this one using our calculator, the resulting value is 0.019803903. So the present value of annuity is given by your P here. So your P, or your present value here. So if we apply 25,000 as the company B offers every quarter, that is 25,000, and he will receive a 25,000 up to the last quarter within 5 years. So this is 20 because we are looking for the representation of every quarter. So there are 20 quarters within 5 years. That's why it's 20. So we just simply apply this value to the given formula, and that will be your J, because it is being converted, no, to an annual. So that's why we divide it by 4 for us to convert this one to annually. So upon simplifying, the given values being substituted on the given formula, so our P now is equal to 409,560.4726 pesos. So therefore, company B offer is preferable since its market value is larger. So that is your company B. So for example number 3, so Kat received 2 offers for investment. So the first one is 150,000 every 5 years at 9% compounded annually. The other investment scheme is 12,000 per month for 5 years with the same interest rate. Which fair market value between these offers is preferable? So the solution, so let's start with the solution. So let the focal point be the end of the term, and so compute for the future value. So with these 2 offers for the investment, we're looking for the fair value of these 2 offers for the investment. So first offer, an ordinary annuity. So it represents an ordinary annuity. So why is that your M is 1 here? Because it is compounded annually. Your T now is 5 and M is equal to 5. Your N here is equal to M multiplied by T. So since 1 multiplied by 5, so your resulting value now is 5. So your I, since it is compounded annually, so we adopt your 0.09 as a value of your I here, and your R is 150,000. So first thing to do is to find the future value of the first offer. So we just simply substitute the given values for R, your J, your M, and N. So we just simply substitute. So we just simply directly adopt, no, your 0.09 as a value of your J because it is compounded annually. So we don't need to divide it by 4. We don't need to divide it by 2. What But whatever the given is, we just simply substitute it directly as a value of your J, which is 0.09 because it is compounded annually. So if we substitute, that is 150,000 multiplied by 1 plus 0.09 raised to 5 minus 1 all over 0.09. So your F now is equal to 897,706.59 pesos. So that will be your future value for the first offer. So for the second offer, which is your general annuity, so given your R is 12,000, your I is equal to 0.09, your M is 1, your N is 5 multiplied by 12 because it is compounded, no? Compounded semi and monthly. So this M, no, there's a typographical error here. So your M is equal to 12, your T is equal to 5. So your NE becomes 5 multiplied by 12 because it is compounded monthly. So it is 60 months, no? 60 months. So there is a payment interval which is monthly. So convert 9% compounded annually to its equivalent interest rate for monthly payment interval. So here, as you can see, we just simply divide by 12, no? Because the given is 0.09, which is compounded annually, for us to get the value of the interest rate, which is compounded monthly. So we just simply divide by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. So that's why we adopt that concept. That will be equal to P, which is equal to 1 plus I raised to 1 over 1 raised to 1, which is compounded annually. No? So if we simplify this one, so the value for this one is 1.09 raised to 1 half minus 1. Why is that? Your exponent here is 1 half, so we just simply take the ratio, no? That will be 1 over 12 here. So this will be your exponent here and your 12 there as your denominator here. Upon simplifying, if we transpose this positive 1 to another side of your equation. So this I raised to 12 over 12 right after we transpose positive 1 to another side. So it becomes negative 1 to another side of your equation. So this will be equal to j. So you need to take note of this. So whatever your value in your I raised to 12 over 12, that will be your j, or simply equal to 0.00721. So that will be the value. So find the future value of this investment. So what will be the future value of this investment? So the future value for this investment is that your F now is equal to R multiplied by 1 plus j raised to n minus 1 over j. So we just simply substitute 12,000, then 1 here, as you can see, and 0.00721 as the value of your j, which is compounded monthly, raised to 60. Why is that? It is 60 because 5 multiplied by 12, it represent the payment interval, which is monthly, no? And negative 1 minus 1, I mean, all over 0.00721. So our future value for this second offer is 896,869.86 pesos. So that will be your future value for this second offer. So for your activity, you can put your answers, no, in your Catleyan notebook. So answer the problem given below by showing your complete solution and your decision on a sheet of paper. So there is a given problem here. There's only one given problem here. So a television set is for sale at 13,499 pesos in cash or on installment terms 2,500 each month for the next 6 months at 9% compounded annually. If you were the buyer, what would you prepare? Cash or installment? So you need to choose, no, as a buyer. If you were the buyer, no, what would you prepare? Is it cash or installment? Based on the given values and based on the resulting values that you can get from your computations, if you were the buyer, what would you prepare? Is it cash or installment. So thanks for watching. So please like, and comment and subscribe.